Transhumanism, a great technological bluff. Our final disembodiment as natural beings. The beautiful exists just as little as does the good or the true. Friedrich Nietzsche. Introduction. Imagine a human being who has undergone so much modification of a technological order that she or he is no longer identifiable to the human species, one who possesses certain abilities and embodiment different from those of humans. Differences, however big or not, nevertheless merit her or his own classification as a new figure of a post-human. Definition of post-human is a being that started out as human at birth, but has so changed its physical, biological and/or cognitive constraints to a degree that it has become another kind of creature altogether, something that sci-fi and dystopia both have expanded upon almost endlessly. Transhumanism proposes that now it is not only possible to do so, but also progress and thrive in the coming future. Is the very reason why has transhumanism found tremendous support from Silicon Valley pundits and messiahs including Google's co-founder Larry Page, Amazon's Jeff Bezos, Tesla's Elon Musk and Microsoft's Bill Gates to name a few. The more we learn about who and what we are, the more options we will discern about what to try to become. Daniel Dennett, 2008. The presence of technology that envelopes us all also makes us believe anything, well almost anything and far worse, alter and direct our attitude, cognitive ability and as transhumanism, reconfigure the meaning of life itself, a tremendously powerful idea or a giant hoax that is actualized by the combined power of technological innovation, belief systems, tech affirmations, accumulation of capital, messianic anti-ecological ideas, that altogether symbolize a total defiance to nature, the 21st century resolution, as a carry-forward of the century earlier, whereby our greatest values have been totally devalued, a world where we are constantly searching for the beautiful, good, pure and the true. From that very fading presence of real life, appears transhumanism and all its forthcoming promises. From that wellspring of technological innovation and human ingenuity appears what Nietzsche emphasized when referring to the consequences of never-ending modernity and its resolute loyalty to reason. Nietzsche, Nihilism, and the Virtue of Nature by Steve Michaels. Rearrange everything and forever, in terms of technological progress or to combat an entire set of threats posed by nature, rising scarcity, inequality, racism, climate change, possibility of nuclear annihilation etc. etc. Transhumanism situates itself at the intersection of late capitalism, proliferation of global threats in the age of AI and implications of unchecked technological progress, at the cost of immeasurable environmental destruction, albeit as a new philosophy sustained by technophilia and a desire for universal betterment. 1. Let us get to the point. Highly publicized dystopian fantasies of ecologically blind tech billionaires, along with an armada of first-world transhumanists, long-termists, singularity and its effective altruists, are rolling out big mantras that are supposed to frame our understanding of the incoming future. This techno-dialectic is based on a deep technological bluff, a rationale that philosopher Jacques Ellul warned human beings decades ago. His message was clear back then and as relevant today, that the greatest reforms backed by new technologies are not only blind to nature, but also systemic change, social inequalities and lack moral integrity, furthermore perpetuate inequality, exploitation and devastation of the environment. What remains firm through time is the shared devotion to capitalism and 20th century neoliberalism within the entire realm of transhumanism. Ellul's logic can be clearly understood when we distance ourselves from endlessly updating software and hardware, and not fool ourselves about continuous progress, the involved hoax of staying in sync with the march of technological breakthrough. Transhumanism as a philosophy seems to override the historical basis of human evolution, Regardless, the range of propaganda is fulfilled by a range of utilitarians who insist on the prodigious power, diversity, success, universal application of new technology to overcome poverty, ecological disasters, overshoot and the limits to growth. The benevolent aspects aside for the moment, transhumanism depends on free-flowing capital, even if it equates to alarming rise in poverty elsewhere, in some faraway country and community. Transhumanism tacitly defies nature no matter what images and discourses it may fabricate, while dreaming of transcending humanity to greater power and happiness, and even colonize the solar system and beyond. In hindsight, the embarrassing failure of 60s and 70s sci-fi and Hollywood space fantasy, which had already predicated and visualized the above prophecies and possibilities, is now back as transhumanism, with new propaganda and computational power in the form of superintelligence, super longevity and super happiness, smart beings living inside a virtually smart universe. Oxford's Nick Bostrom tells us with advanced technology, a very large population of people living happy lives could be sustained in the accessible region of the universe. 2004. Advanced technology and the eternal fantasy of space conquest discounts ecological barriers or planetary boundaries imposed upon 99.99% of human beings, nevertheless openly champions infinite growth, even if it clearly fails to reckon with the basic and real needs of human beings living on Earth. Never mind a first-world transhumanist like Nick Bostrom who is comforted akin to a child of the 60s and 70s, in the impossible when he says, the energy and resources for an advanced civilization could create value structures, such as sentient beings living worthwhile lives, but that vision of an intergalactic future, never to arrive, at best captured our imagination 40 or 50 years ago. Meanwhile, the outreach of technology has tremendously advanced to power certain human beings more than the others. The advent of prosthetic technology and artificial limbs is worthy of mention as much as life-saving medicines, but not to conflate all that with transhumanism. However, in our current worthwhile reality, be it Nick Bostrom or any random person, is about pushing buttons and keys, staring into various screens, through their waking hours for whatever reason and given desire or activity at hand. For now we are happy with the fact that the vast repository of human knowledge can be accessed on our given devices. Transhumanism at face value promotes higher liberty and in certain cases anarchy, yet that is misleading. Because like all utopian movements that manage to gain sufficient power, willy-nilly turn authoritarian and outright violent. Transhumanists intend to destroy human exceptionalism in order to turn us into no more than sculpting clay. First things, Wellesley J. Smith. Looking at the subject from an economic prospect, certain people believe that data is dead labor, asset horizon. 2. But what about the technological bluff? At a global sense and also individually speaking, is important to first understand that all the success and exploits that are an outcome of technology and technique, regardless of the cost, utility or risk, have convinced modern human beings of one thing above all else, in advance, that a technology-based evolution is the only solution to all our collective problems. Then entire catastrophes of third world misery, health, unemployment, global pollution, wars, climate, exodus or even individual crises such as well-being, family life, mental health and even the meaning of life is all outsourced to technological systems following a set of maxims and techniques, consequently leading common human beings to a world where no one is in control of anything important, that being one side of the hoax. One is free to do what they wish, provided they have the right technology or know the required technique. In his book The Technological Bluff, Jacques Ellul probed into this universal condition, upon the incoming horizon as taken to be the only chance for progress, development, or in some cases mere survival in every society. There is bluff involved here because the effective possibilities are multiplied 100-fold in such discussions and policies, and the negative, critical, dissonant aspects are radically silenced and concealed. This universal mindset invests in ever new systems, as a continuous regimentation of society facing ever new threats and catastrophes, or worse, radically erased and done with from the entire prospect of remaining alive on the planet, as human beings, period. The post-human, much like modern humans, shall inherit a purely fictitious world, Nietzsche, nihilism, and the virtue of nature. 3. Transhumanism is the position that human beings should be permitted to use technology to modify and enhance human cognition and bodily function, expanding abilities and capacities beyond current biological constraints. Science Direct 2012. Regardless of its multifaceted forms, visions, and millions of fans, transhumanism is clearly at odds with existing values set by feminism, socialism, communism, and libertarianism. To some, it is characterized not by particular dogmas, principles, or prediction, but the overall devotion to technological innovation. No questions about the current world order. Transhumanists vary in their political doctrines, their positions on ethical issues, and their outlook on religion. What distinguishes transhumanism as a movement and ideology is instead a set of shared core values and the conviction that those values can be totally pursued using technology. Questions posed by materialism, required energy, biophysical capacity, population, and footprint are not only negated within this so-called philosophy but attacked with misinformation, anti-science, and propaganda. The transhumanists and tech billionaires are taking us down the road to hell, says Emil P. Torres in a recent interview with Population Balance. His verdict, with clarity and evidence, slams the impossibility of such a future, as predicated by the billionaires, where disembodied people living in computer simulations, over the suffering of current-day people and non-humans. Transhumanism's bluff is embedded within a belief system that is held up by the underestimation of environmental destruction, backed by the anthropocentrism of the 1%. The propaganda and investment that goes on and on, about repopulating humanity with seemingly superior genetic material, is at the same time investing billions of dollars into weapons of mass destruction, outsourcing entire systems of governance and security over to AI, is also heralding the arrival of the post-human. When and how, no one really knows, or perhaps it is well in process. In any case, there is a clear nexus between the biggest proponents of transhumanism and the deep state tied to the American intelligence complex. At a non-philosophical level, the negation of billions of human beings appears fundamental in order to achieve the so-called post-human. The technological powers which can fund such a transition are also funding future presidents, trying to overthrow legitimate democracies, investing in vaccines, are good friends with war criminals, and some can be heard telling the entire world to make more babies. Such is the wicked, arrogant, and utterly idiotic record of Elon Musk, admired or envied by millions, for the products and plans which he symbolizes, albeit an outcome of taxpayers' money. Not a pioneer but a messianic torchbearer of a giant hoax, to be clear. But we must praise the good scientists working for Elon Musk, who managed to create a chip designed to enable severely paralyzed patients to try basic digital forms of communication with their thoughts. Britannica, transhumanism. Debate over the biotechnological enhancement of human beings is a hot topic today. Similar to Dolly the sheep, 1996, the first cloned mammal ever to be created from an adult cell. According to Susan B. Levin, within bioethics, the most contentious facet of this debate is advocacy of transhumanism, or in other words, radical and rapid enhancement. The informational worth, structural knowledge, and data that transhumanists trumpet as the pillars of truth, are clearly insufficient and fraught with limitations of behavior, emotional and cognitive resolution, which is unique to each one of us. The transhumanist optimism ignores the vast range of health risks and diseases that have infiltrated every society in reality, and instead urge our dedication to the development of biotechnologies that would secure the advent of post-humans, imaginary creatures, akin to science fiction, who surpass human beings in rational capacity and lifespan. According to these folks, being human itself has become a passé for. When it was said that people will walk on the moon, shortly later they did so. When it was imagined that a person could live with an artificial heart, it happened sooner than expected. When it was envisioned people would be sending instant messages and money across the world, a few decades later it has become everyday reality, and all of this works. So where is the bluff? The hitch, or say problem, is one of language. American usage has implanted in our minds the idea that the word technology refers to actual processes. This is the way the media, experts, technicians, scientists, students etc. use the term. But in a strict sense, technology is discourse on technique. It involves the study of a technique, a philosophy or sociology of technique, instruction in a technique. Jacques Ellul. In other words, we are convinced that one thing is synonymous with the other. What would Ellul or for that matter Nietzsche make of some future technology, which desires to transfer or migrate a human mind from its erstwhile brain into some new embodiment? Imagine how one sends or copy-pastes a computer file or application from one machine to another, and how, at a reductionist level, intellectual limitations they wish to overcome, or in other words simply upgrade the hardware and software, adding more memory, faster processors, more efficient algorithms, data assimilation etc. etc. Why transhumanism won't work? Adam Kuiper. The totalitarian aspects of modern technology, even with its most positive outcomes, does not manage to save the fall into pessimism or make big concessions. To understand the limitless proliferation of technology and the advent of transhumanism as benevolent or progressive is ridiculous. I do realize that my protest is useless in face of technological society and achievement society with all its collective ignorance and hubris, but I have to justify the title of the story. Modern society as we know it makes it impossible to live according to nature and instinct. Modernity that has long assembled and organized life into a set of techniques has also educated us that it is necessary for our survival, at any cost, however happily or not. Dare to say that entire modern society is thriving upon a set of hoaxes or bluffs, roles that are consequently enacted by politicians and leaders alike, within mass media, by experts, publicists, even actors, artists, futurists and to a large degree scientists, and let us not forget all the existing economic models. 5. Within the shadow cast by transhumanism exists the utterly empty space of phenomena that is far beyond the access of common human beings. To experience such a wild multiverse, we have to expand our experiential capacities, possible only by altering our biological, cognitive and physical form, all via one form of technology or another, or as certain critics warn as an irreversible step closer to the extinction of the being as we knew it. With the extinction of a species will also vaporize all that we know of, as soul and spirit, along with all the dreams and nightmares. The spiritual ruin of a gigantic civilization is perhaps the new altar of transhumanism. Transhumanism, so rich and powerful in terms of information and knowledge, is yet a disembodied cluster of parts, made of the past and present, bereft of not only soul but cognitive controls of honesty and dishonesty, to deal with the conditions that actually define our realities. In whatever form and extent it may impact society, it lacks 4 key virtues, as pointed out by Nietzsche for all human beings, of the past, present and the future: solitude, insight, courage, and sympathy, a rubric that still manages to empower and enlighten us, way more than the entire technocentric influence and demented ego of current civilization. Written by Audio Pervert. Read, share, subscribe to the Counterintuitive on Substack, audiopervert.substack.com.